Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
Have you heard the term Grippy Socks Vacation before?
Not in that context, no.
No. Well, apparently it's something the kids are saying these days. And a Grippy Socks Vacation is what the teens refer to when they are sent for a 72-hour psychiatric hold at a hospital or psychiatric facility.
The term comes from the non-skid socks given during psychiatric hospitalization when a patient's laced shoes are confiscated for their safety.
Oh, I was way off. I thought it was going to be like jerking into a sock or mom finds evidence. Anyway.
Weird.
Yeah.
Grippy sock vacation. You go with jacking in a sock, huh? Okay, so anyways, I read a story that talks about, kids saying, I'm going on a Grippy Socks vacation. Mm-hmm. And my first thought was, that's fucked up that it is so common that they have now normalized it with a positive connotation slang-wise.
Right.
But what really is the issue here is we have so many emotionally maladapted teenagers that were raised by people that were given constant positivity and told how special they were. So they haven't dealt with enough adversity that they have the sense of proportionality to fucking handle when anything goes wrong, and then they lose their shit, and next thing you know, I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to do this, and there's so many kids on fucking medicine these days, It's ridiculous, and they're going to these hospital psych wards and facilities like where I used to work that was an adolescent psych hospital. That place was a fucking assembly line of humanity.
Isn't that
get them
crazy?
in, get the money, get the meds stable, get them to the point where they don't say they want to hurt themselves, send them home, fill the bed within 3 hours.
It's amazing when you see the actual medical industry for the money-making machine that it is. I did an externship at a pediatric clinic, and I'd be sitting there, newborns, having to weigh them, get measurements, all this stuff, and I was getting yelled at because I wasn't doing it fast enough, right? And because I had to get through like 12 to 20 patients a day or whatever their schedule was, like one per half hour type of thing. And when you're talking little kids, even now, we're trying to get them in and out as fast as possible. Strep throat, all these conditions, and yet yeah.
My neighbor and his wife just had a baby, and they were home within 24 hours from when she popped.
I know.
It used to be 3 fucking days.
Yeah. And that's been that way for a while now. The 24-hour thing's been that way for a long time.
Yeah.
That was when...
That was before COVID even.
Yeah. Yep.
So as it relates to all these kids, and I've experienced working with them, and obviously I have kids that are starting to age into that group, when they see that they can just go and get away for a few days, yeah, they have to surrender their phone, but they don't have to go to school, and they don't have to listen to their parents. Mm-hmm. There's another side to this slang term that I don't think that they addressed enough in this story for obvious fucking reasons. And that's the negative connotation that kids are utilizing anything they can do to cry for help to just take a break. Everybody's so sensitive to their feelings that you don't want to, oh, it's not so bad. You're not supposed to tell them that. So they let them go. And all of the mental health facilities are overflowing. But to my point, all these kids have all these issues, and it stems from, I think, not only the ocean of positivity that is undeserved that they swim in all the time, that they just get caught up on the undertow of it and develop the sense of entitlement to being praised and listened to and never told they're wrong, but it's the fucking phones. It's that they don't have real interaction. They talk, they text, they FaceTime, they're on apps, sure, but it's not the same as being in the same room, going for a bike ride, going for a walk, hanging out in somebody's basement on a Friday night, just fucking playing video games and listening to music, eating pizza. And
giving each other shit from just across the room as opposed to across social media.
Or texting each other in the same fucking room.
Oh, God.
They don't know how to communicate,
Yeah.
which is one of the most basic functions of human beings, is that we're a social species. And they don't know how to do it in the way that has traditionally proven to be both I'm going to air quote this, normal, but healthy.
Right.
So they can't handle it. And school goes to shit because everybody's constantly fucking on the internet just drowning in negative bullshit. It's everywhere.
Well,
Twitter
I'm
especially.
I'm glad you brought up the phone thing because it is such a personal experience. It's interesting. I'm 45, right? I've kind of run the whole gambit from old school rotary phones and, computers that would take 5 minutes to get to the point where you could actually use them to everything being accessible. Everything becomes your own personal world and you shut out so much of the outside that I wondered for a while what impact this is going to have on our ability to communicate. Are we going to get to a point where our society has trouble procreating because, one, they don't know how to talk to each other, two, they don't know what each other's preferences are or how to address each other's preferences anymore. And eventually it feels like we're going to get to this point where we're going to have lots of mixed signals, right? And a lot of people that are going to go off the rails because they're just not going to be able to deal with sexual frustration.
Yeah, like the whole incel crowd that are like, women aren't giving up pussy. It couldn't be that I'm a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Newsflash, it's actually both. Women have this weird thing where they want to like hate men now.
Yeah.
And starve us of affection to get back at us for I don't know what.
Yeah.
Historically, it seems. But also, piece of shit guys aren't going to get pussy.
That was kind of the way it always was type of thing, too. And as far as, guys in general being pieces of shit, there has been a lot of years of crappy behavior that doesn't really give us much of a leg to stand on. But at the same point in time, I don't think it's every guy and I don't think it's every woman out there doing it. Either
right.
way.
Yeah. So with your son now, he's what?
16.
16.
He'll be 17 in August. Yep.
I'm assuming you have no concerns about his mental health or ability to cope.
Not so much, no. I mean, at times, I can tell he's down or whatever, but he's a teenage boy, so there's going to be some little bits of peaks and valleys. So, but no, I don't really have much concern about his ability to cope.
And you guys are considered like a mixed family now, obviously, because you and his mom split up a while ago. Yep. He got used to that. You got remarried, so it's kind of raising him by committee, and that seems to be the norm.
Yeah, I was going to say he has a pretty normal childhood now. Yeah.
But as much as it's great that there's all these outlets for kids to discuss mental health issues, and not just them, but adults in general, everyone's very open-minded about mental health now. It almost seems like it became a cottage industry, and then everybody's like, I'm fucking getting in on that shit, and it's all about money now.
Yep. Now you got apps, different counselor apps on your phone.
Yeah, you don't even go to an office and see a therapist.
Nope.
You can just fucking text somebody and hope that it's a real human being in America. Not some guy in fucking India at a call center who just has a rudimentary understanding of English and mental health problems. He's got an old DSM-4 that's outdated and he's flipping through it while he's Googling shit.
You give him credit. You're thinking there actually might be a live human. I'm thinking there's just some AI on the backside of it.
Some chatbot.
Yep.
Oh, how terrible that your parents are divorcing. You must have so many feelings.
I'm sorry for your pain.
So here's the problem with all of this available resource. It's gotten too comfortable.
Yeah.
They say they want to destigmatize mental health issues, but there's a point as to why some of them were stigmatized in the first place, because people were criminally insane, committing crimes against humanity, violent fucking crimes, and people that are schizophrenic, people that have borderline personality disorder,
the Beast,
people that aren't wired to handle the rest of society would typically, 15, 20, 30 years ago, be a lock for guardianship, would end up in a sanitarium, would be on a med regimen before the whole pharmaceutical boom. Because let me tell you, in the last year, both of my daughters, ages 12 and a half and 10, when they were 11 and 8 and a half, were suggested medication.
Oh, sure.
For depression and anxiety. I'm like, no.
Was it Adderall? Because there's a big shortage of that right now, and because I think so many people are being diagnosed with disorders and ADD and ADHD that now you can't even get Adderall for the people who actually really need it.
No, recently it was Chi-Chi, the one that just turned 10,
yeah,
a week and a half ago. the doctor gave her some anxiety test, and she scored like off the charts. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Just because she circled some numbers,
Yes.
1 to 3.
Yes, and the beast was at the appointment, and she was circling numbers, and she scored like 45, and concern starts at like 25. and I'm just like, my kid doesn't have an anxiety disorder. She's fucking paranoid that the ground is just going to fall out from under her feet. Nothing's going to go right because the last few years of her life have been fucking tumultuous, dude. Yeah. She doesn't need Xanax. She's 10. Fuck you. I'm not going to give my kid a medication that I would be leery to even take myself as an adult. Even if a doctor was like, no, dude, you really need it to chill out. No, I don't. There's CBD.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to try edibles because marijuana's a plant. I'd be willing to try psilocybin. Like, years ago when Danny and I started this, Danny was a big proponent of entheogens, which is a class of hallucinogenics and such, or substances and plants that occur in nature that have various practical, medicinal, kind of Eastern medicine-minded, alternative to pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to try that, possibly. I recently was having a conversation with somebody. I'm like, I think I kind of want to try ayahuasca tea just to see what happens. Like, would it mellow me out? What kind of experience would I have, and would I be able to throw a football for the Packers? How would it help me?
Right. You just never know what you might unlock.
I might need to sit in the dark for like 3 fucking days and poop myself to be more at peace with myself. But the point is we're pushing this as too normal. So now everybody's so comfortable that they're like, oh, yeah, I have a problem. Almost as if it's like, if you don't have a problem, there's a problem.
Yep.
Which is not a sane way of benchmarking this. Everybody has peaks and valleys in their moods, right? Mm-hmm. And I think too many kids these days confuse happiness and joy. You got your phone, you're on it constantly, everything is short attention span, instant gratification, you're like a rat hitting a feeder bar to get a fucking pill. That's joy. Joy is an ice cream cone.
Yep.
Joy is getting a hand job with lubrication. Joy is going on a carnival ride with your friends and screaming like maniacs. Happiness is when that joy is over, you still feel balanced and complete and okay, and you don't fall to pieces without constantly being force-fed this unhealthy amounts of serotonin dump diet. Yeah. And that's what the teenagers have. And I got so many girls that it's like, oh, fuck me. Because we're at the point where everybody has something. Everybody has to have a unique pronoun or orientation or slant. And if they don't have it, they're missing out. So this Grippy Socks Vacation slang phenomenon is just a microcosm of how all these teens think that they're a victim and that everybody's against them, and they're so broken. You're maybe not that broken, but if enough people get together and start parroting the same bullshit, they're all going to think, I have that, I have that, I have that too. Oh, we all have each other.
And don't get me wrong, there's kids, out there that are smart enough to realize an angle. So there's going to be ones that say it just specifically because they know, like you said, they can get a 3-day vacation, whether they actually have any issues or not.
Or meds that they can fucking sell.
Exactly, or abuse, or, right. You're right. On one hand, we want to be aware. We want to make sure that if there's mental health issues, that we are, as a society, able to address them, diagnose them, and treat them a lot better than we have been for pretty much our entire existence, right?
Yeah.
We don't have a real good track record of dealing with mental health issues. But the problem is in a country that is so built on chasing the almighty dollar, who's been pushing drug prescription commercials for the last 30-some years, where everything is a business, right? That's where the problem is our good intentions meet
corporate greed.
Exactly. And all of a sudden, now you're right, everybody's got to have something wrong with them. So many people have an issue, and it just feels like there's been for a long time the over-medication of youth. I mean, we're talking ever since I was a kid, there were kids that were being put on Ritalin. That was the trendy one back then to deal with hyperactivity. And when I was starting to graduate high school, I was seeing more and more and more and more and more kids having to take that and all this kind of stuff. And yes, there may have been a growing problem that needed to be addressed, but at the same point in time, there's a lot of money to make for doctors and pharmaceuticals and everything else.
And these kids aren't stupid. They have bad intentions. They want to get that money, so they know that they can get some scripts and sell a third of it and
Dude.
party with the rest. Xanax bars are, they call them Xanny bars to party.
Yeah.
You take them, and it fucking, mellows you up. But in reality, I don't want my 10-year-old, even though she's wound like a top and very emotional,
Right.
she's sensitive, I don't need her to be a fucking zombie.
Or needing to this bar, this Xanax bar, to function, right? Those
Just like
types
the
of things.
juice. They wanted to give her antidepressants last year. I said, absolutely not. Like, the pediatrician actually said, when do you want to start having the conversation about medication? I'm like, never. I learned to cope. I've had depression since I was 15. She's almost there, and frankly, I find it offensive that you're just like, well, all this bad shit's happened in her life, but we want to give her pills.
It'll make up for it.
And then the beast is like, well, what do you think the answer is then? And I'm like, well, do you want to have the girls step out of the room so that I don't have to upset them when I talk poorly about you? Because I think the issue is less about their chemical imbalances and emotional needs and more with the fact that you can't stay the fuck off of drugs and stop getting strangled by your dipshit boyfriend.
Yeah, that causes a lot of stress in a kid's life. Yeah.
So if none of that happened, like let's say hypothetically, the beast and I had never split up, I doubt the juice is going to have these depressive issues. And that would be more nurture than nature.
Yeah.
The doctor's coming at it from this just stance that, oh, she needs it. She's so depressed. She's not so depressed. She doesn't lack the ability to function. She still enjoys all the same things. She has friends. She's social. She isolates occasionally to sit in her room to get some alone time, which every fucking teenager wants.
That's normal. That you need introverted time to recharge your batteries.
And that's her with antidepressants. So let's go to the other one, her sister with the fucking anxiety. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, she's a top student. She's well-liked. She's very popular. She just doesn't like that she doesn't have control of the situation all the time. She asks a lot of questions because she's nervous, because a lot of shit hit her out of left field the last few years. The beast and I broke up when she was 3 months old. She never knows a time when we were together.
Yeah.
And as late as when she was like 4 or 5, she's asking me when I'm going to marry her mom. And then I burst out laughing in the car like, oh, no. No, that ship sailed years ago.
Right.
These are kids that have experienced adversity that they shouldn't have had to, but it's all too common. And they don't need pills. They just need to establish the means of processing what's going on, realizing it's not their fault, developing positive coping mechanisms, not like, I'm going to do drugs, I'm going to drink, I'm going to smoke, I'm going to fuck, I'm going to eat my feelings.
Talk to them. Don't just medicate them and put them in a corner, right? You know what I mean? There's something to still be said for discussion and talking. And like you said, getting to the root of the feelings.
Well, and here's the thing, though, is that they want my girls to each have more therapy, like twice a week therapy.
On top of the medication,
yes.
too? Oh, jeez.
And here's why I'm against that. Because therapists are supposed to be unbiased and remain objective. And you have a crappy therapist if the whole time they're relating what you're going through to their experience.
Oh, that's terrible.
Because they start talking about themselves. Whereas if they come to me or their mom, it's our job to utilize the wisdom that we've garnered from our experiences and failures and trials and tribulations and successes, and then spin it to them like, here's what happened to me. Here's how I handled it. You're going through something I never did, but here's how I would approach it if I was you based upon my experience. I can personalize it. I'm your father.
I was going to say, one thing I wanted to go back to is you talked about how there's so much more therapy and so many more therapists out there, which also means there's so many more crappy therapists out there.
Oh, fuck
ones
yeah.
that are just absolutely terrible. And so there's no guarantee that you're going to find a good one, let alone one that you even know is good until maybe you're even 6 months in. You may not even know when you got a shitty one until way down the road.
There's a lot of very young ones I've noticed where we go.
Okay.
And my therapist is in his 50s, I think. And he does not think highly of the bumper crop of young hires that they've got, because these Gen Zers come right out of college.
Phoenix
it's more common
degrees.
to have a master's degree now than it ever was before. And they think, oh, I have enough education to be in charge. But you don't have the experience. Right. So you're going to start out on the bottom. Oh, you don't like that? Well, sorry that you fucking did everything in the wrong order instead of first degree, get a job, get experience, go back to school, get another degree, apply the experience, get a better job, go for the master's, boom, now you're in the top. Now it doesn't, there's a progression here that's natural, and they don't want to do that. So with this boom in the need for therapists has been a bumper crop of young, fresh-faced, inexperienced individuals that are too young to have that wisdom of having lived hard or lived at all because they're a part of a generation that's been fucking bubble wrapped and screen addicted, and they don't even know how to communicate. How the fuck is Gen Z going to get a job as a goddamn shrink and help anybody when they can't even fucking function to a desirable or respectable level when dealing with their millennial peers, their Gen X parents, their fucking baby boomer grandparents? You think we're all pieces of shit and that we ruin the world, and you have all the answers at 23?
Yeah.
Your brain's going to develop for another 3 to fucking 6 years on average. Who are you to try to treat my fucking kid when you didn't come from the same fucked up background?
Yeah. What I think is interesting is we're seeing in real time what has gone on, though, for generation after generation after generation. You grow up, you think you know it all. That's all this is. Really what it comes right down to. In my early 20s, I know I didn't know it all.
But you felt like you did.
No, I felt like I did, and nobody was going to tell me what to do because I was going to find out on my own. Like, yeah, you can warn me, but I'm still going to do it and find out the hard way. You know, so...
Even in my 30s, I didn't feel like I had all the answers because I was still making stupid mistakes. It was my first time up at the plate swinging the bat, you know?
But I think a lot of the generation coming up has the luxury of standing back and say, well, you guys effed it all up. Well, it's like, you know what?
It's easy when you're on the outside looking in and pointing a fucking finger, and it's not that you were a part of any of it. You're just basically reading history books and listening to stories from people and going, oh, you fucked up. Fuck you.
But they don't realize that everybody inherits the system that came before them, right? Everybody inherits the bullshit, and they try to make do and best they can with what they inherited. So, yeah, you're right. I wasn't around for the civil rights movement. You know, it wasn't on me. You know, I didn't perpetuate a lot of that shit in the 80s and 90s and other crap. You know, I wasn't white privileged in your typical way, but yet I did obviously suffer some type of white privilege because of me getting a job every time I applied for one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Things like that. So I can see it to some degree, but at the same point in time, what is bashing me going to do about it? Right? What is bashing individual people going to do about it? What's it going to change? Right? I understand you're angry. Okay. Where is the action? Right? We all get angry. Where is the action?
That plays into what my old hardware manager at Menards used to say to me. He's like, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions.
Yeah.
So
And
instead of
when you start
bitching
looking at the world
incessantly
like
and
that,
pointing
yeah.
fucking fingers, come at me when you have some sort of strategy of how to address it. You can call every system racist or homophobic or this, that, or the other,
really
but
wanna
what
boil it
fucking
down.
answer do you have other than just shitting on everything? You're just a stray dog running from yard to yard, marking each mailbox post with a little bit of piss to put your scent on it, and then scurrying down the street upon your way like you don't have a care in the world. And frankly, fuck you for that.
They wear this armor of protection, like they can say whatever they want and there's never going to be a repercussion. And if there is, it's your fault or it's your, you know, they get mad at you. And it's like, oh.
Oh, how could there be repercussions for a generation that is consistently only pointing out what other people did wrong and all the things that we said that are insensitive or problematic? All you do is just make fucking baseline assessments of everybody else's efforts. You're basically the equivalent to a goddamn professional movie or music critic. You're pointing out mistakes and things you like, but you're not really creating anything yourself.
Kind of like Republicans. Oh,
Ooh, easy. But just like all these kids that are in these psych wards that they get some pills and they're like, oh, somebody paid attention to me. Well, put your fucking phone down and go spend some time with your parents like you used to when you were a little kid.
yeah.
And maybe it seems stupid to watch a movie with your mom or dad or fucking play catch with your old man or wash cars with them or go for a ride with your mom to anywhere. Fucking do it. Because you'll bond, you'll talk, you'll open up. You'll have a real dialogue with a human being that has an emotional vested interest in you, and then you might not need to go to the psych ward for the Grippy socks vacation. You might not need the medication after all.
You might gain some of those skills that involve having a healthy give and take conversation, learning listening skills to be able to then talk and converse and to have a good exchange of back and forth ideas with somebody and not feel so awkward and stressed out every time you got to deal with somebody. Yeah.
So I hate to sound like another old man shaking a fist at a cloud, but it just seems like, come on, this is not the right way. And it's not because we didn't do it that way. It's because I genuinely think that that's not the right way to send everybody who has a little bit of adversity to the fucking psych ward or to an adolescent psych hospital or to a therapist.
You're right. I don't agree at all with the old mindset of, suck it up, buttercup, and, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. But you're right. On the other hand, too, not everybody can handled with a pillow.
Yeah. Well, unless it's like an old lady lying on a bed, she's, gasping for breath, and you just want to put her out of her misery. That's that case you could handle it specifically
like
with a pillow. You could be their angel.
Oh my God, you were gonna do it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It Podcast Show. For the What Do We Call It Podcast, I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
And that's the end.